I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. In fact, on Sunday, we are going to have a fabulous new moon at 15 degrees of Gemini. And that is why, if you've been looking on our website, starborninstitute.org, you would already know that the title of tonight's show is Turnaround. And the reason why you and everyone else in the world can be contemplating a turnaround or some sort of transition is because that's what Gemini rules. Gemini is the traditional ruler of the third house of everyday life, and brothers and sisters, and early childhood education, and your neighborhood, and casual friends and pals, and all short forms of communication. And above all, Gemini rules communication and change. It can be the kind of communication that you get at a community college or a vocational school or some sort of training seminar, or it can be through advertising, journalism, buying and selling and renting and marketing. So or the media. So Geminis are very good at saying something very important in a rather short way. And Gemini rules slang as well. And sometimes when somebody is saying a word that is in at the moment or something trendy, we do all understand it. So this is a time when there can be a turnaround, because even though there are 6 planets still in a Grand Cross in mutable signs, 3 of them are just in Gemini alone, and they are all at the same degree. That is amazing. So the sun and the moon, of course, since it's a new moon, are both at 15 degrees. But in alignment with those lights is the planet Venus, the planet of love and harmony and the law and compromise and negotiation and partnership, particularly legal partnership, either in a marriage or in some sort of business partnership. And so all 3 planets, the sun, the new moon, and Venus, are at 15 degrees. And when we reduce numbers, we add their digits. So 1 plus 5 equals 6. 6 is the number of Venus and of love and marriage and getting along with others. And so since Gemini rules part-time or temporary efforts and transitions, that is why this is an ideal time to think about some sort of turnaround. It doesn't mean all your problems will be solved, but it does mean that the odds are in the favor of Gemini right now and the things that Gemini rules. Because those 3 planets in Gemini, the sun, the new moon, and Venus, are being squared by Jupiter in Virgo, which rules clear-cut facts and details, so you do have to face those. And Neptune in Pisces is also squaring the sun, new moon, and Venus in Gemini, meaning that if there are people that don't want to look at the facts and are in denial or involved in some sort of cover-up or are just lying about something, they too are going to have to face some sort of turnaround right now, because I think the facts and details are out in the open. And also Saturn in Sagittarius is opposing the sun, Venus, and the new moon in Gemini on Sunday. And when Venus and Saturn oppose each other, there is an indication of a betrayal or a separation. So those are things that we still have to work with. And so a turnaround will have some challenges to it, but it is extremely well favored right now. And so all the things that Gemini rules, which it does rule youth and young people, so those are favored, and so are short trips, and as I said, short forms of communication. And if you just want to do simple, casual things with your pals or your buddies or your neighbors, it is all going to be very well favored right now, even if there are a few problems to work out. So that is great. And so this is a time, since the new moon is on Sunday, that there can be some very good news about to be announced, but not quite. And that is because there's no fortification to this new moon. In other words, the 3 planets in Gemini are not being tried by any planets in Libra or in Aquarius, the other two air signs. So I would say that there can be good news around, and people can be in a transition right now, and some sort of important conclusion, though, has not really been announced yet, but it will be. Another thing about this change that is coming up, or this transition or turnaround, is that it will be gradual. In other words, it isn't going to be abrupt. And the reason why is that Saturn is a slow-moving planet, and it demands that you do everything right. And it's the one that is opposing the new moon and the sun and Venus. And so a change can be gradual, but it will be very steady. And the reason why it will be so steady is because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and Mercury is right behind the sign of Gemini. It is still in Taurus, and it is being well trined by Jupiter in Virgo and by Pluto in Capricorn. So the good news could be about money, because Taurus is a money sign. So you have that to look forward to. And why are people excited about a turnaround or about going through some sort of transition? Well, the reason why they can be now is because there can be a change of people's minds, and they can be changing to the idea of off with the old and on with the new. And that is because Gemini does rule change. And remember, I said it would be gradual but very steady. And there is the possibility that they are more open to that now. In fact, we can all be open to change. And that is because there is the idea that there are better future possibilities awaiting us. And that is because the three planets in Gemini, the Sun, New Moon, and Venus, are all trining the sign of the future, Aquarius. And the ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. Uranus is in Aries, and it's sextiling all the planets in Gemini too. So there is something new on our horizon. There is the possibility that there can be a turnaround that each of us can contemplate going through, and it can be done with love and compromise, all the things that Venus stands for, because this new moon is at the number of the 15th degree, which reduces to 6 the number of Venus, and Venus is conjuncting it. So there are going to be a lot of rather easy, simple things that you can do to turn around something in your life if you want to. And if that means going through a transition, and it's not going to be a speedy one, it's going to be a gradual one, then that's all right, because it will be a steady one as well. So even if you have to take baby steps right now, I hope that you're open to better future possibilities, because I think that they are awaiting all of us. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, this is simply a time when I think you are all ready to go through some sort of turnaround, because you might want to take a short trip. You might want to change your working position from full-time to part-time, because that would give you a lot more freedom. And Uranus is the planet of freedom, and it is in your sign, beautifully sextile all the planets in Gemini this weekend. So if you are thinking of making some sort of change that will give you a little bit more free time, I think that's a good idea, Aries. And Saturn in Sagittarius is backing you up, but that is a planet that can denote steady efforts, but only gradual ones. So you might have to work on some sort of transition right now or turn around, and it might be sort of slow but steady, but it could be very rewarding as well. And if that means that you could have more freedom in your life to do what you'd really like to do, I'd go for that if I were you, Aries. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time when I think with that new moon in Gemini on Sunday right ahead of your sign, that you can be contemplating very good news. And it can be involving buying and selling, or some sort of deal that you've been putting through. So it could involve a property transaction or any kind of investment possibility, since your sign does rule investments. And remember, I said that the earth signs are enjoying a grand trine right now. So Mercury in your sign is trining Jupiter in Virgo, and Mercury rules Virgo as well as Gemini, so that's good. And those planets are also trining Pluto in Capricorn, which means, even though it's retrograde, that if there is a change in management or a change in policy, it could probably do you some good, Taurus. So I do think news is going to be good for you, and that is because Venus is your own ruler, and it is conjuncting that sun and new moon on Sunday. So you may be just having plans to go on a short trip, or you may be dealing with young people. It would be very enjoyable if you were. Or if you are doing some buying and selling or promoting of any kind, I think it's going to work out really well for you, Taurus, so I hope you go to it. Just remember, though, that the transition will be gradual, and it will be very steady. The thing you do have to watch out for is that Mars has now moved into Scorpio and is opposing your sun sign, so you may be on the verge of some good financial news, but you could also be on the verge of higher fees or higher taxes as well, or some old bills that have to be paid, and so you'll have to face that as well this summer. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is a fabulous new moon for you. Congratulations, Gemini. You couldn't ask for anything better. And that is because the sun and new moon on Sunday are being conjuncted by Venus, that planet of love and partnership. So you are one popular person, Gemini. And it can be that you sort of want to spread that love around, and maybe that's what's making you popular. But you are being seen in a wonderful light right now, and it doesn't mean all your problems have been solved. Jupiter in Virgo is still demanding that you face facts about details about some sort of job performance that you have to evaluate and maybe even try to improve. Or you have to face facts about your health. Neptune in Pisces means you might be kidding yourself, or else there can be other people that have been deceiving you around. They can be involved in some sort of fraud even, or cover up, or money mismanagement. So you have to be a little bit careful who you trust right now. But the ball is really in your court, Gemini. So I want to wish you well. I think you're going to have a great weekend. And also the whole month should be pretty good for you. And that's because it's starting off so well under this new moon. And so even if a turnaround or a transition is not complete, or if something hasn't been concluded or announced yet, it's going to be, and I think you're going to be happy with the good news, Gemini. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, this is a time when you couldn't hide anything if you tried, and that's because on Sunday, the new moon, sun, and Venus are all right behind your sun sign, and that simply means there's an awful lot of light in the background of your life, but it's very good, and that light is centering on love. That's what Venus is. It's a planet of love and partnership and peace. And so this is a time when you may be deciding to have a little bit more peace in your life, Cancer. And if that means you have to make a turnaround or a transition, if you need to go from full-time to part-time in order to have a little greater peace of mind, or if you want to downsize in your home to something that's a little simpler to take care of, then this would be a very good time to do that. So if you're working on any kind of a deal behind the scenes and it is going through some sort of transition, I think it's going to be successful, Cancer. And that's good because Mars in Scorpio is now trining your sun, and Neptune in Pisces is also trining your sun. So whatever you're working on behind the scenes, which I think has something to do with love in one way or another, is going to be successful, and there probably is going to be a way to pay for it. There may be a little more financing or a little more money around somewhere in order for you to perhaps spend it on someone you love, or to spend it on something that you would love to do. So congratulations. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is a time when I think that you can be rather happy with all the future possibilities that are around right now. Uranus in Aries is trining your sun, and Saturn in Sagittarius is trining your sun, so you do have backup. And some of it is a sort of slow going, that would be Saturn, and some of it can be very surprising, that would be Uranus. But those planets are fortifying your sun sign, and the new moon on Sunday is sextiling your sun sign along with Venus, which is wonderful, and the sun. So I think that you are going to have the possibility maybe of taking on something that is part-time or temporary, which is an additional project, or you could even be going on a short trip, or just adding new skills that you learn about in a short way. Through a training seminar or something. All of that could be really good for you, Leo. So I think that you are ready to explore future possibilities, and this is an absolutely wonderful time for that. There is also the chance that you would be working more with somebody who is younger, but who is very nice and absolutely delightful, and I think you would enjoy that too, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when, remember I said we can all be going through some sort of turnaround or transition, but there still will be some challenges that we'll all have to face, and that certainly includes you, Virgo, because the Sun, New Moon, and Venus are all squaring Jupiter in your own sun sign. And so that simply means that there can be an additional effort that you are going to have to make to get along with people, and that might be because they're in a hurry, or they can be very young people, very enthusiastic about things. And Virgo, you're a person that likes to think through every small detail and get everything organized and very efficient before you even begin, but you may not be able to do that. You might be a little bit rushed next week, Virgo, by all the different activities and possibilities that are out there. So I think you might have to actually play catch up in order to make some sort of transition. And that means there could be too many things that you have to do, but you'll just have to face them, and they'll still be delightful. So I think this is not a time when you can rest too easily. Mercury in Taurus is trining your sun sign where you have Jupiter, and Pluto, which is retrograde in Capricorn, is also trining your sun sign. So my advice to you is try not to get lost by taking too many detours or taking on too many things if you can possibly help it, Virgo, because what you should really do is focus on job prospects or on investments or on your long-term security. You should focus on practical problems, not on things that are in transition if you can help it. But I don't think you're going to be able to help it. You're going to be real busy next week. So you could have a few too many irons in the fire, and you're going to have to slow down and really keep your focus on practical, affordable things instead if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a wonderful new moon for you. And the reason why is because the Sun, New Moon, and Venus, your own ruler in Gemini, are all trining your sun sign. And that simply means, since it's your own ruler that is conjuncting the Sun and the Moon, that there can be somebody very delightful that is headed your way. And they could be a potential partner of yours, even if they're only a partner for something that is temporary or part-time, or if they're just a classmate in school, or they are a person that is involved in some team that you are working on in a temporary capacity. They could still be very, very charming, and somebody that could even become a more permanent partner of yours, Libra. So I hope you're ready to explore future possibilities and sort of get out there and mix and mingle, because I think it's going to do you a world of good. And there is going to be somebody rather nice that is and has good information that is going to be of value to you, who is going to help you with something, Libra. So I hope you decide to work in partnership right now, because you're aspected to really succeed at that. And the other person would be happy doing that too. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when I think that what you've got to do is realize that, well, you've got to go back and really look at the money right now. And the reason why is that Mars has come into your sign, and yet it is retrograde. Your other ruler, Pluto, in Capricorn, which is sextiling your sign, is retrograde also, and the sign in between Capricorn and Scorpio is Sagittarius, and Saturn is retrograde there. The only three retrograde planets are all sort of lined up in a row in three different signs. And so there is going to be some backtracking for you, Scorpio. That could represent some some type of preparation as you wind up something. And that would be because you have to backtrack and re-examine things. You may have to sort of clean out things or clear the decks before you can make some sort of transition yourself. Remember that if you need to take on temporary or part-time help in one way or another, you could do that, because that new moon in Gemini is all about temporary or part-time efforts. And so this is a serious time for you, Scorpio. And even though Neptune in Pisces is trining your sun and you can get some help behind the scenes, you really are going to have to solve some financial problems or answer some financial questions or redo some credit terms, something like that. So the focus for you is going to be on money in one way or another, or even the lack of it, or the way it's being handled. And you'll have to sort of answer for that by backtracking and coming up with more information. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, remember I said that one reason why a turnaround or some sort of transition is so well aspected is because there are fewer obstacles to it. And that is because there aren't two planets in your sign anymore, Sagittarius. There's only one. And that is because Mars has retrograded back into Scorpio, and so there's only Saturn in your sun sign right now. And yes, it's being trined by Uranus in Aries, but it is being strongly opposed by the Sun, New Moon, and Venus in Gemini, and squared by Jupiter in Virgo and by Neptune in Pisces. This simply means that this would be a good time for you, Sagittarius, to try to do things in a simpler way. And Gemini rules simple things, and Virgo rules common sense. And so, you know, I think that you ought to almost discard a few of your methods, Sagittarius, and get down to what can be done in a very simple and effective way. Or if you can't solve all the world's problems right now, and it might be because you're a little too tired or depressed, then, you know, shave those problems down to something that you really can handle, or just take one at a time. And remember that a turnaround or a transition is going to be gradual. It will be slow. That's probably just your speed, Sagittarius. So don't put stringent deadlines on yourself. Just take one step at a time and try to make that turnaround if you can, because this is a wonderful time to give that a try. And that's because there are better future possibilities out there. You just have to sort of get rid of some of the baggage in your life first, Sagittarius, so that you can sort of lighten the load and take advantage of new opportunities in your future as well. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time when I think if you two only concentrate on practical matters such as your job or your long-term security or your investments or your budget for sure, then you will be really happy. If you are a person in a high position, there is the possibility, perhaps even due to budget cuts or maybe not always following the policies, the correct policies, that you will be subject to a turnaround or a transition. In other words, there is the possibility that you may have to change things or move on or redo something, and that is because transitions are highly favored, but also because if the rules haven't been followed, then something has really got to change right now. And so whether it's you or whether it's somebody higher up than you, there can be some serious changes right now, and you would have to try to keep up with the latest news about all of that if you can, Capricorn, so that you are following new rules instead of old ones. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a wonderful new moon for you because the Sun, New Moon, and Venus are all trining your sun sign, which does rule the future. And so this is a time when you can be meeting a lot of people in even a casual way that can have rather good news for you about future possibilities, Aquarius, and you would love that. You're always ready for something new. So this is a time to get out and mix and mingle and really pay attention to the news, because the prospects for good news are very high right now. And I don't think the good news would be about money, but they may be about possibilities that could make you happier, Aquarius. And I think this is a good time, since Venus does rule love, for you to go for happiness or better partnerships right now. And I think that's possible. So I hope you get out and meet new people. All right, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time where I think you have to be really careful, because the Sun, New Moon, and Venus in Gemini square your Sun, and Saturn in Sagittarius also squares your Sun, and Jupiter in Virgo is opposing your Sun sign where you have Neptune. Yours is a mutable sign, so those 6 planets in a grand cross can affect you. And for that reason, you're going to have to be really careful about looking at the facts, particularly about job performance or health issues, and you really should admit whatever those facts are and work with them and respond to them, because it's better than denial. I mean, those facts are not going to go away no matter what. Mars in Scorpio is trining your Sun now, and it is a retrograde, but it is very strong in the sign of Scorpio, and so that means that if you're having any kind of financial difficulty, or you haven't exactly got your financial books straight, maybe now is the right time to go back and bring them up to date if you can, Pisces, because there are ways that you could solve your financial problems if you just work really hard on them. And be sure and understand that there aren't going to be any future possibilities if you don't get your finances and your job performance and your health really moving forward. So that's why you can't be in denial about anything right now, Pisces. You got to sort of bring everything up to speed if you can. All right, thanks so much. Remember, you can see this show anytime you want by subscribing to it on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.